everyone. Welcome back to the Dish on Aging. This is episode 7, and today we will be talking about how to provide care to older family members from a distance. The focus of today's conversation is the idea of providing care to a loved one who lives a state or several states away. And given the circumstances of the current pandemic, some may be providing care from a distance, meaning not visiting frequently, even if you live a short drive away. So today's topic will be able to be applied to both types of situations. Before I get into today's topic, by the way, today is Sunday, February 7th, 2021. It is Super Bowl Sunday, and here in the Philadelphia region, it is also a snowstorm out there. So here we are. I want to start today with an update on how the COVID-19 vaccination distribution is progressing in my local area. What I have observed, which is really good news, is that many, if not most, of nursing home residents who have agreed or agreeable to receiving a vaccination have received both doses. Over the past week, I have observed as the counties are starting to bring the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccination to senior housing buildings. I've seen that in both Bucks County and then to a certain extent into Philadelphia County as well, also up in Montgomery County. So many people who live in senior housing units have now received their first dose. Now, the more complicated situation is those of us who live in the community. Complicated here in Pennsylvania. Just to give a review, approximately 28 to 30% of us fall at the group at the front of the line. So that's nearly 4 million of us. And I'm going to just quickly review some of the news stories. Pennsylvania is last in line for all of the states in the country in terms of the percentage of vaccinations that have been put into people's arms. And there are two reasons for that. The governor says it's because there's a lot of vaccinations, there's like a 2 or 3 day delay in the counting. And so vaccinations have gone into people's arms. It's just Pennsylvania is delayed in the counting. Critics say that Pennsylvania is doing something that other states are not doing, which is they're holding on to the second dose. Many states are just, if they have a dose in the refrigerator, they're giving it out that day, keeping fingers crossed that a second dose will arrive in time for the scheduled second dose. So Pennsylvania might be a state that's holding on to vaccinations. Something that's also different in Pennsylvania than is the case in other states is Pennsylvania gave each one of the counties the authority to decide how they would distribute their vaccinations. So to some extent, counties are doing things differently in this state. For example, at the Bucks County vaccination site locations, you have to be a Bucks County resident. I don't know if that's true for any other county. So some Bucks County residents, if they can get an appointment for a vaccine, they're getting in the car and they're driving hour and a half, 2 hours to a different county, and they're not being deceptive about it. They're telling the healthcare providers who are distributing the vaccines at that distance who they are. They're giving their driver's license identification and their address is being written down. So we have a little bit of confusion within this state. Each county has different ways that they're distributing the vaccinations as well. So that's the state of things here in Pennsylvania. I want to encourage everyone who is at home, and I'm assuming you've already got your name on your county list, and you're waiting for that call. I have spoken with people who have received the calls this week, and this is what they're saying. The hardest part about getting the vaccination is waiting for the call that there's a vaccination for you. Once you get that call, usually the appointment is very quick, within a day or two. Most people who are receiving these calls are finding that the vaccination distribution site is at an address they've never been to before. So keep that in mind. For those who use the smartphones and have the GPS device, that's not a concern at all. They just put in the address and the GPS gets them there. For seniors who don't use smartphones, and there are many out there, this can be a concern. So I want people, again, to focus on being prepared rather than being in a panic. One of the most important things I want you to do, if you don't use a smartphone and or if you don't drive and or if you use a walker or a wheelchair to get from your car to a building, I want you to think about this week reaching out to a friend or family member who can drive you to the appointment. And let me tell you why. People are saying when you turn into the parking lot of the location of the vaccination distribution, it is pretty clear that this is a senior event, because most people who are getting out of their cars and going into the building are using wheelchairs and walkers. That means all of the handicapped sites at the beginning and near the building are already full. And so if you need assistance getting across a parking lot, they're not necessarily big parking lots because you're going in by appointment. Always remember to bring your mask as well. But if you're someone who's going to feel more comfortable, if a family member drives, uses the GPS, so they're not concerned about where the location of the building is, they can drive up to the curb, help you and your walker out of the curb, out of the car onto the curb, and then you can head into the building while they park the car. Generally speaking, most people, it's going to be important you have a family member go in with you. Appointments are being set up individually. One of the things that I'm hearing is when someone gets home and says, yeah, I took my pop to get a vaccination, other people are saying, why didn't you take my mother with you? And the answer is, well, because I didn't set up an appointment for your mother. Why don't you set up an appointment for your mother and then you can take your mother? It's, in some ways, it would almost be easier if a whole neighborhood could go around, get 3 or 4 seniors in the car and go to the location, but you can't do that. You have to be pre-registered, already signed up, so they know who's coming that day. And this is because they have to make sure they have enough vaccinations. They don't have an endless supply of vaccinations. What people are telling me is that once you get to that site, life is now super easy in terms of the vaccination distribution. You go into the building, there's not a line because people are there by appointment. They have it set up like an assembly line. It's very, very organized. You go in and you fill out forms. You sign the forms. Before they even put the vaccination in your arm, they give you the card with the date and time of when you will receive your second dose. You will receive your second dose at that same location. So they give you your card for your second dose appointment before they even put the first dose in your arm. Also written on that card is which dose which medication you're getting. There are 2 approved medications. You may not know before you get there which medication you're getting. So then you sign your forms, you receive your appointment for your second dose, assembly line to the next location, you receive your shot, assembly line to an area where you can sit down, and there's going to be a medical personnel there observing for 15 minutes. If somebody is going to have an allergic reaction, it's going to be within the first 15 minutes. and most people are not having any type of allergic reactions. And so then out the door you go and you're done. And you're already scheduled for your second appointment. So people are telling me again, the key is just to get the call that they have a shot for you and they're ready to schedule. Again, my focus is on being prepared, being in prepared mode, avoiding panic. This seems to be going along pretty smoothly in this local area. The only challenge continues to be that they never know when they're going to get doses, and they never know when they're going to get when the next shipment of doses is coming in. And again, I want to emphasize, when you receive that call, I encourage everyone, there's one phrase you say is, yes, I will be there. Please tell me when and where. And then you have a notepad and a pen sitting by your phone so you can write all that down. Then you hang up the phone, call, if you need a ride, call your family and say, this is my location, time, and date of the appointment. Are you able to provide me with a ride? I know that seniors are oftentimes worried if their younger family member is working full time. They're concerned that there will be some sort of adverse impact if their grandson has to take an hour or two off from work to provide transportation to this event. What I want you to do is to talk about family members, talk about this with them, let them know. You may get less than a day's notice that they have a vaccination for you. Everyone, including the boss of your driver, is going to understand you need to be unprepared and up and go rather than panic, but you need to go get that shot. If you have identified a family member who's working full time, have that person talk with their boss ahead of time. My guess is when that person says to their boss, I'm going to need, with perhaps only less than a day notice or less, to take time out to get my pop to that appointment, the boss is probably going to say, oh, great, tell me when it is. I want to take my pop too. And then that's when your family member will say, okay, then go get your pop on the list. And your pop and my pop may be getting appointments, called for appointments at different days and different times, but at least it has alerted the boss that somebody is going to need to take time off from work. And there's no doubt in my mind that to help, grandparents and great-grandparents and parents get these vaccinations, even if it's during a work day, is going to be something that every boss out there is going to support. And I'd be surprised if they don't. So that's the summary. Things are going along here in Pennsylvania. They're going as chaotic as I anticipated. They're going very slow, but things are moving forward. And I wanted to share with you today that people are saying once you receive that call that they have a vaccination for you, it is just real smooth sailing after that. Okay, and again, no waits and lines because everybody is there for an appointment, but you will see a lot of walkers and wheelchairs making their way through the parking lot into the building to receive the shots. Okay, so I hope it all goes well for you in getting your shots because they are so important. Today I'm going to be talking about how to provide care to a senior from a distance. And the reason why I'm talking about this today is because many people are finding that's how they have to provide the care because they live a distance away. And many are finding just because of the pandemic, they can't get in the car or on an airplane and go across 3 states without having to, in some cases, quarantine for a few days. So that's also creating challenges for people to provide care in person. My professional recommendation for everyone, just so you know, this is just where I'm starting from the beginning, is I think that providing care from a distance should be avoided to the extent that it can. And how that happens is Once, I mean, we all know when we have aging family members, loved ones, is to start the conversations early. What are we going to do when? And that when is when somebody needs care. Families can be reluctant to have a conversation about this when somebody is living in their own home and they're driving and they're in good health and they're getting themselves to appointments and they have no difficulty with the upkeep of the home or with paying of the bills. It's a non-issue. The challenge that can come up is there can be a sudden and temporary problem. Let's say somebody has to go for a knee replacement and they can't drive for 3 months and they can even opt to receive physical therapy at home. That's one type of challenge, a short-term challenge. A second type of challenge is it's now more chronic every day just because somebody is much older. Usually they're having challenges with cognitive impairment and they just need a lot more care day to day. It is so important to have somebody who can, if not live with them, at least check in on a daily basis. The third type of situation is somewhere in between. The person is not yet sort of chronically needing care because of they're well into an advanced age, but it's not just a one and done. It's what's happened, let's say in the last 6 months, there have been 4 different events where the person had fallen, had needed a medical procedure, was hospitalized, and needed help with care. Some of the biggest challenges that come up require hands-on and or overseeing, or sometimes we are not, and this is true of every age, we don't have a accurate ability or view of the help we need. Or maybe we don't have an accurate view of things we used to be able to do 10 years ago that we are not able to do well this year. Most people would say, sure, I can go out and get that snow off of my car. But, now you got the parts in the knee from the knee replacement last year and you've got the bad back, does that make sense for you to go out to be clearing the snow in the car? So when out-of-state children and family are calling, what do you need help with? Can I go on the internet, try to find somebody to help you clear your car? They may say, oh, no, I can do it. In reality, either they do it and risk another injury or it doesn't get done. So, so those are important topics to try to understand, is that oftentimes family members don't start with conversations about when a loved one will need care. And then there can be almost like 3 categories of needing care. A one and you're done, more of a chronic, ongoing because of advanced age. The person's never going to get those abilities back. And then the third is somewhere in between. Somebody starting up with more frequent one-time events that are requiring care. The reason why I wanted to talk about this topic today in February, first Sunday in February, is because there was a Wall Street Journal article published by Julie Jargon, Jargon, on January 9th, 2021, where she addressed this issue. How to care for aging parents when you can't be there. And I thought this was an outstanding article. I actually emailed her. She knows I'm talking about her article in my YouTube page, The Dish on Aging. I didn't give her the date. But you can try to look that up. You might have to pay the $2 or $5 week subscription to Wall Street Journal to get that. It's a shorter article, about 5 or 6 pages, and this focuses in on technology. And it also focuses in on when you're providing care from a distance. And she gives the statistics, that is the National Alliance of Caregiver and also AARP statistic, that 1 in 5 of us, so 20% of us, provide free care to another family member. And Julie Jargon, she writes for the Tech family and technology writer for the Wall Street Journal. So as you can imagine, this article focuses in on the technology that is needed to most effectively provide the care. The article talks about how you divide the care up into three categories. Does the loved one simply need check-in? Do they need more of an ongoing monitoring? Or do they need hands-on care? And she also does a great, fantastic job in this article in talking about resources that are out there online, like Alexa. You can connect your Alexa to your grandmom. So when your grandma gets up and says hello to Alexa, your Alexa tells you that your grandmother just woke up and said hello to Alexa. So I didn't even know that that's out there. There is such a growing demand now for in-home check-ins for seniors. It's going to be amazing to see what comes of that. And so this article gives families ideas on what you can start looking into. One of the things the article talks about is almost an insistence that the person learn how to use smartphones or computers. In my practice, I say the opposite. I say if the person is well up in years, they were in their 80s and 90s and they don't use the internet, don't try to press it on them. It's one thing if somebody goes out and learns it on their own. The reason why I say don't press it on them is because oftentimes the senior is experiencing a cognitive decline and they don't have the ability. You won't know that having a conversation with you, but they will experience overwhelming frustration and they just won't have the ability to learn the new technology. So I tell families if they're not already using the internet, then that means that you're really going to be handicapped quite literally, especially in this pandemic. All the care is going to have to be provided by the landline phone. And this is a tremendous problem now, even getting registered for a pandemic vaccination, a COVID-19 vaccination. All the sign up is online. And I've just told seniors, have your children do this. I had somebody in her late 60s I was talking to. She's still working full time. She uses the internet all the time. And she told me how chaotic our county system was signing up for it. And I said, and I think her kids are in their early 30s with tech degrees. And I said, yes, that's why I'm telling every senior, have your kids sign you up for that vaccination. So everyone, when we're talking about a retired age group, we're talking about a wide range of age groups, abilities, and there's going to be a generation gap in terms of experience interacting with the computers. A 30-something is going to have no trouble with my county COVID-19 sign up. In fact, it was probably designed by a 20-something person. The baby boomers who are now older than age 65 might struggle with it a little bit. And somebody who is in their 90s who just doesn't use the internet just isn't going to be able to use the system. It's just that simple. One of the things I like that Julie Jargon's article talks about is that seniors don't need special equipment. They don't need a senior iPhone or iPad. They can use any iPad. They just need a current one. Also, some seniors may need to be set up with Wi-Fi in their homes. And so it's what I love about this article. So anyone who has a loved one who's living at a distance and you want to find out what's out there in terms of connecting your home to their home in terms of video and how to do it, it's not necessarily going to be expensive, but just knowing what apps, what programs, and what resources there are to get more information. Look up Julie Jargon's article, Wall Street Journal, How to Care for Aging Parents When You Can't Be There, that was published January 9th, 2021. And generally speaking, I think I already mentioned what this article does, and it's really important to keep in mind, is that there are going to be different types of levels of care. Somebody might just need help scheduling medical appointments, and that's it. Other times a loved one, when they are starting with, and I call it mild, it's actually the diagnosis is mild cognitive impairment. They might just need help with bills. Other seniors might need help with just basic kind of household repairs. Maybe one day or one weekend every 2 or 3 months, maybe one weekend a season. And you see the advertisements on television on how people set that up online. The community I live with, the scam artists are only going after the seniors. I'm like, how come I call them and they don't rip me off? They're not available if I call. So there are going to be some things I'm going to recommend that when we're not in a pandemic, or once the pandemic clears, it might be important maybe once every 4 or 5 months to go spend a weekend with that senior, so that when you're in the house with them, you can see what needs to be done. You can see what their care needs are. You can see, are they starting to have trouble with the basic upkeep? Should you spend some time that weekend figuring out how you can go online to maybe get some reputable housekeeping into the house, or how you can run to the local electronics store and get a computer that actually has a video. You have to have a computer of the last 7 years. I know, because I just got rid of one from 7 years ago. It had the ability to do a video, just not with this type of high def quality. So seniors, you may have to go to visit a senior to find out what equipment do you have, what's available in terms of Wi-Fi or internet, and you might need to be on site to help them set that up. And then you can kind of monitor them from a distance. And some people are going to just need a little bit of support. Some are going to need a lot of support. Some it's going to be temporary. Some it's going to be more ongoing. And for goodness sakes, have a conversation with the senior about what support do they think that they need or they could use. And then kind of confirm that with a face-to-face visit. And then, you know how to do a Google search. Younger people know how to do Google searches. See what you can find in your community. And then when you're back to wherever you live, states or days drive away, then you're able to monitor that a little bit better from a distance. So lots of reasons to be optimistic for the future. I really do think that facility care is going to start to wane. I think that nursing home care and facility care is going to be options when somebody is not able to be out of bed, or they need an RN to stay alive 24/7 for some reason. Their medical health has declined and is that fragile. And I think we're going to start to see more and more services being offered in the homes, in the community for seniors. The real difficult tasks are going to be transportation. You'd be surprised how hard it is to set up transportation, especially if somebody has a lot of medical appointments. The other is going to be who in the house can oversee and organize if help is coming into the home, coming and going. You still need somebody with an ability to organize the complexity of that. That's more complex than you would imagine. But that is something that can potentially be done from a distance. Okay, so today was just throwing out some ideas, giving you an article to look at, to, provide you support as you're looking at providing help to a senior from a distance. And again, my recommendation is to be there is always better, and to start with the conversation before the care is needed. And this is what Julie Jargon says in her article as well. She says, get all this equipment set up, and the equipment might just be an iPod and an internet connection. Get it all set up and get the person using it before they need help with, getting bills paid, or help with making sure that they are able to get out of bed that day. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy the Super Bowl today. Enjoy this snow. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Next Sunday will be Valentine's Day. And, this is going to be a really great topic. How can I interact with family members who have very different ideas about the world than I do. And I saw there was a journalist talking about this week, and I don't even know how the journalist answered that question. But that was actually a request that came to me from feedback from a viewer requesting assistance in how to handle that when you're hanging out with family members. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a great week, everyone. And I hope you get called that your vaccination is ready for you this week. Oh, goodness. I'll let you know when I get called. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.